I haven't done a chatty video in a while, and I really felt like, doing like a tech video or something a little bit more chatty. I have one more idea for a chatty video, but for today's video I wanted to do a tag. I saw this tag going around maybe like a year ago, so I'm a little bit late to the party, and I am going to leave the original video from the original creator of this tag, but basically, as you already saw in the title of this tag is the part-time YouTuber tag. So I wanted to just sit down and talk a little bit about my experience being on the YouTube creator side. Even though I'm such a microscopic channel, it might be fun to share my experience with this. So let's just jump into the questions. There are only 8 of them, so I really hope that I can make this video a little bit short and sweet. Question number 1. What is your main gig? Do you work full-time? Are you a student, a parent? So it's not a secret to anyone because I've talked about it quite a few times. My main gig is a postdoctoral researcher. I am a senior postdoc in a research lab. A postdoc is basically someone who has already obtained a PhD title in a certain scientific area, and they are not quite at the stage where they are like a professor or an assistant professor or even want to go down that track, such as myself. And because in the Netherlands something like a senior scientist or a scientist in academic institutions doesn't really exist, I am a postdoc, but I would qualify myself as a scientist. I'm very much a wet lab researcher. I do still a lot of experimental work. I have a project. I work with a lot of the PhD students at the lab where I supervise them and I help them out to, figure out how to set up their projects, what kind of experiments to plan. That was pretty much the gist of what I do. I am also a mom, but I don't consider being a mom a job. So question number 2, what made you want to start YouTube? I think what made a lot of other people start YouTube as well, so it was mostly because I wanted to connect to people who enjoy this hobby, makeup, as much as I do and are as passionate about it and can talk about it for hours and hours on end, and simply have an outlet to talk about this hobby, be creative about it and share it with other people, because there still aren't many people in my real life who are really as passionate about it as I am. I have quite a few friends who enjoy makeup or have started really enjoying makeup in the past years, maybe a little bit influenced by me, but none of them enjoys makeup to the level that I do, which is why I come here and I talk to you guys, because you enjoy makeup as much as I do. You can talk about sparkly powders in plastic boxes for hours and hours on end, and that is why I love to come here and talk to you. Another reason that I started my YouTube channel, for those of you who don't know, I started my YouTube channel in 2014 and I was a very niche channel at the time because I was very focused on small indie brands like the handmade eyeshadows that came in the little pots, which were, what we called indie makeup a few years ago. The term has like completely transformed in the past couple of years, but back then that is what it meant, and that was also another inspiration for me to start my YouTube channel. There weren't many people talking about these small indie brands back in the day, and I really wanted to give them a shout out. I wanted to give them the time of day. I wanted to demo them, and I wanted to find other people who are as passionate about them as I am. Question number 3. What is your channel about? Do you stick to one niche or do you cover a few? My channel is about makeup, but while it is about makeup, it's always been a little bit more niche. Like I said, in 2014, 15, 16, up to mid-2017, my channel was very niche to like the small makeup indie YouTube community. And after 2017, I feel like also because mainstream makeup brands picked up a little bit on, better formulas, better color stories, and just doing more interesting things, I kind of like transitioned into trying more mainstream brands, and at one point I completely like let go of the small indie brands and I fully transitioned into mainstream brands, and I made such a like 180 that I went from small indie brands to Pat McGrath Labs makeup, which is like one of the most luxurious makeup brands you can find out there. So I would say I'm still a very niche channel. You can see the content on my YouTube channel is very much centered around, especially the last year, Pat McGrath Labs, because that is what I have been enjoying. So I haven't ever really purposefully made my channel to be a very niche channel. My channel has always been about what I currently enjoy in makeup. I don't force myself to try different things. I don't buy a bunch of things to review to sustain my channel or to make it grow further, as you will have noticed, because I only have like 1,000 subscribers at the moment and I've been on this platform for quite a few years. In that amount of time, most people have probably reached at least 50 or 100k. I have never had that goal in mind. I have always just wanted to talk about the makeup that excites me at the time. Right now, Pat McGrath Labs makeup excites me a lot, like more luxury makeup excites me a lot. A couple of years ago it was like more mainstream brands like Urban Decay, Too Faced. Prior to that it was the small indie brands. So while I've never really intended for my channel to be a niche channel, it's always been a niche channel, but the niche hasn't been determined by me like thinking about, oh, I should really focus on this particular group of people because it might make my channel grow. No, it was just whatever I give a shit about at the moment. That's all. Other than that, my channel has absolutely no direction, no agenda, no scheduled, uploads. It's just random AF. Alright, let's move into question number 4. Did you always know YouTube would be a side gig, or did you ever want to be a full-time YouTuber? Always, without a doubt. YouTube has always will be a side gig for me. I love my job. I don't ever imagine a time when YouTube would be a more attractive opportunity for me than my job. Even if we would come to a point where financially it might be. I just think intellectually it's just not as challenging to me. It's not as interesting to me. It doesn't excite me as much. It doesn't give me the opportunity to learn and grow in a way that I personally want to. So for me, YouTube will always be a side gig because I enjoy talking about makeup, I enjoy showcasing makeup, but if I ever had to let go of YouTube not to sustain, but like for the sake of my main gig, which is the being a researcher part, I would without a doubt do that. Like I wouldn't even like blink in hesitation of letting go of YouTube if I didn't have the time for doing it anymore because my main job was more demanding. And while I will never let go of makeup as a hobby because I enjoy tremendously the process of applying makeup, I think talking about it on YouTube is something I could easily let go of. Like I could get bored with it tomorrow. I've thought about it a couple of times actually. I'm just not at that point yet. I'm still enjoying talking to you. I'm really enjoyed like making all these friendships on YouTube. I've made so many beautiful, connections to people that I think I could consider friends in my real life right now. So I'm not at the point where I want to consider quitting YouTube, but it's definitely a side gig that at some point I will just be done with. I will wake up one day, I'll be like, okay, I'm kind of done with YouTube, and that'll be it. Question number 5. What is your schedule like? When do you film? When do you edit? So I don't really have a schedule, I don't really have an upload schedule, I don't have specific days of the week when I am uploading. I have to say that has changed a little bit in the past couple of months, not because I've been trying to be a more organized YouTuber, but mostly because I have specific days of the week when I don't have meetings starting early in the morning and I have more time to film. And those days would be Wednesday, sometimes Monday, and most of the times on the weekends. So the only day that I have noticed in the past couple of months that I have consistently filmed and uploaded is Wednesday. For the rest, it's a little bit of a mixed bag depending on how the week is going, when I have time, but mostly it would be Wednesday, sometimes Friday or the weekend. I usually edit in the evenings when I have just finished my dinner, or prior to having dinner I will just sit with my laptop on the couch in front of the TV, enjoy a drink, a snack, and just edit my videos, and I enjoy that. I don't find it like a chore or something that I really resent. It does take time, but by now I have a pretty good editing routine. It's literally just cutting and pasting filming footage together so that it makes sense. That is all. Question number 6. How do you keep your YouTube channel organized? Do you plan videos ahead or just film what you feel like? Most of the times I film what I feel like. In the past couple of months I have really enjoyed creating different series where I can create content around one specific topic, such as the Pat McGrath palette ranking video, the Pat McGrath pairing series, the Pat McGrath swatches. I recently also started a Shop My Stash playlist, so I do enjoy having a recurrent theme that I can go back to and fall back onto if I cannot really think of anything else to film. Also don't sit around and think of topics to do a lot of those chatty types of videos that you will have seen a lot of other people do, and the only reason I don't do that is because I feel like at some point they get very repetitive. Because first of all, I don't have an exorbitant collection, I don't buy a lot of makeup, so I cannot really talk about new products all the time, so we are always going to be circling back to products that I already have in my collection, and there are only so many times that I can include them in a video in a certain context without starting to sound like a broken record. I do sometimes have ideas about interesting videos that I would like to film. For instance, the video that I did a couple of months ago about lessons that I have learned in the 8 years that I have been purchasing makeup, I thought that was a really cool video idea, something that I really wanted to share. I have an idea about something that I want to film this week at some point. That is a bit more of a chatty video that I think would be interesting to you, but other than that, I mostly enjoy the get ready with me style videos where I do my makeup and I chat with you. So mostly there is like no real organization or planning ahead. I do have a little like notebook where I sometimes write down my ideas, especially if it's an idea that I think it's very fleeting and I'm going to forget about it if I don't write it down. But I don't have like an agenda where I sit down and I write on Monday I'm going to film this, on Wednesday I'm going to film this, on Friday I'm going to film that, and these are the points that I'm going to include. No. This level of organization at my channel does not exist, and you should never count on that existing, because side gig. Question number 7. How do you feel about sponsored videos on YouTube? Would you ever do one on your channel? I have absolutely no issue with sponsored content. I think for people whose main gig is YouTube and who really put the effort into it and who want to have their channel grow and be their only source of income, sponsored content is one of the few ways to do that. So I have absolutely no issues with sponsored content as long as it is properly disclosed, as long as it is not disingenuous, and we are all aware of what each party is delivering into the transaction. So, further than that, I have no issues with sponsored content. Would I ever do sponsored content? Sure, if somebody offered me the opportunity. Actually, you might consider my sponsorships from Ana Luisa to be sponsorships. I think in this context, I think of sponsorships more like a brand approaches me and they say, okay, you will do this video, we will pay you X amount of money. That has never happened to me, probably never will. But if we are talking about a transaction where a brand sends me a product and they would like me to feature it in a video and you consider that sponsored content, then I have already had a couple of sponsored videos with Ana Luisa. And let me tell you, I've had a couple of like really strange companies approach me for sponsored content, and I've declined politely because I, first of all, either don't think that it fits my channel or I have no interest in it. And something that's very important to consider, I have no interest in receiving free product just because it's free product and I will be able to review it on my channel. Like if tomorrow Anastasia Beverly Hills or the Norvina brand were like, hey, do you want me to send you all of your palettes? I'd be like, no thanks. Because I have originally had no interest in those palettes, so bringing them into my collection would just clutter my collection and make me feel very anxious about all the product that I have that I don't know where I'm going to store and when I'm going to use. So I'm open to sponsored content and PR, but I'm also extremely critical of what I would bring into my collection. There are of course a couple of brands that if they wanted to send me something, I'd be like, Pat McGrath and Lisa Eldridge being two prominent examples here. But other than that, I would be very critical of sponsored content. I can tell you, when Ana Luisa approached me for the first sponsored video, I first of all wasn't really very familiar with their brand, so I was a little bit iffy about it. And the way I approached this is, first of all, I went onto their website to read about the brand. I wrote to a couple of my friends on Instagram whom I thought might be more familiar with the brand to ask their opinion. I was still very worried when they sent me the product. Oh my gosh, what if it feels cheap and I don't like it? And I was fully prepared at that time, if that would happen, for me to either return the product, apologize and say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to talk about something I don't like, or pay for the product and be done with it. Because I would rather do that than have the obligation to talk about something that I don't like. So the reason that I'm still talking to you about Ana Luisa is because I actually really truly enjoy their products and I think they're really good quality, and you can see them in every fucking single video that I ever do. So clearly it is a very good relationship that I have with them. Alright, I was talking about sponsored content and at some point my camera rudely cut me off, so I'm not sure how much you missed from that, but basically the gist was, even if someone approaches you for sponsorships, you need to make sure that they are approaching you professionally, that they are not being in any way, shape or form suspicious, because you shouldn't say yes to something only because it's free. You need to make sure that it's something that you can really stand behind. With that, we have reached the very last question of this tag, which is, what do you think is the biggest challenge of doing YouTube part-time? Obviously, time. or the lack thereof is the biggest problem of being a part-time YouTuber. Because if you have a full-time job, if you are a parent, I don't know, a dog mom or whatever, a cat mom, and you have a social life like friends, other responsibilities in life, finding the time to film, edit, upload, interact with your audience are of course the biggest challenges. Personally, I am very lucky in a way because I have a very microscopic channel. Nobody gives a shit when I upload and if I upload. I don't receive that many comments on my videos, so I can fully interact with everyone whoever comments on my videos. So for me personally, that has never been truly an issue. Yeah, I have struggles sometimes finding the time to film, but if I really want to film, if there's something that I want to tell you about, I want to show you or I want to share, I am going to find, you know, the half an hour in the day to film a video and then the few hours after that to edit it and upload it. But yeah, I would say time. And aside from time, it just occurred to me some of the equipment would probably be a problem for being a part-time YouTuber, because if you're someone who does this as a hobby and you don't want to invest too much time into it, let me tell you, a camera, the editing software, the lights that go with it, everything can become very expensive very quickly. Personally, I was lucky enough to receive this camera as a present from my brother many years ago, and I'm very lucky that it still works and works decently. My ring light was not very expensive, and I have a MacBook, so the editing software comes for free, and I've never had the urge to invest in more fancy editing software. So for me, also those are non-issues, but I can easily imagine that those could be issues for other people. I hope that you found it interesting to hear my answers. If you yourself are doing YouTube as a part-time gig, please do let me know what some of the answers to those questions would be for you. I will leave all the questions linked in the description box below on my channel so you can, you know, use them to make your own video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!